bagel, you will need half a cup, 1 cup, 1 teaspoon, half a teaspoon, salt, sugar, half a cup of water, and 1/3 cup of water, yeast, and bread flour, a bowl to mix your flour in, and a bowl to mix your yeast in. Since we're making a bagel, we need a rising agent, so the yeast will be our rising agent. So we're going to start the yeast mixture by warming up this half a cup of water into the microwave. I'll pour this into a bowl. Now I'll warm it up in a microwave for 30 to 40 seconds. So the water has to be semi-warm. Water is warm. I did about 30 seconds and it was warm enough for it. So now I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of yeast into the bowl. And then I'm going to add the sugar, which is 4.5 teaspoons. And since the water and sugar and yeast mixture will start bubbling eventually in a little bit, that you will see. So I'm going to just mix it up a little bit with the spoon. Just sift the flour because it makes the flour more fluffier and gives it an airy feeling. Add the salt into my flour. So I'm going to mix the salt into the flour to make a well in the middle of the flour. Check the yeast after 5 minutes. You'll see that the yeast has risen up. I'm going to pour the yeast mixture into the well that I created. As you can see, the yeast mixture is foamy and bubbly. And now I'm going to start mixing it together. Now I'll add the remaining 1/3 cup of water and I'll start kneading the flour. The 1/3 cup of remaining water that I have, but you can, depending on your dough and how you want the firmness or the softness of your dough, you can add more or less water depending on that. So I kneaded the dough a little bit so it formed into a ball. So I'm going to put this out on the counter so it's easier for me to knead it. And as you can see, I might need a little bit more water. So I have a little bit more water here. So I'm just going to take some in my hand instead of putting it all over. Just take some in my hand. So my dough is ready, so I'm going to take this bowl. I'll put a little bit of oil around it and mix it up like this. So I'm going to put this inside and let it sit for an hour. I'm just going to cover this by a towel. I'm going to take this towel and just put it on top of the bowl and let it sit for an hour. You will see that the dough has doubled in size, so just punch it down and leave it again for 10 minutes. So it has been 10 minutes and the dough has risen again. So now, with your flour hand, make small hole into the little ball and stretch it out to get it to a bagel shape, and cover and keep it overnight. So this is the last 8th bagel that I made, and we're all done. So since I'm all done with the bagels, I'm going to close them up for tonight and I'll make them tomorrow morning. I kept the bagels overnight in a closed box, and as you can see, the bagels have doubled in size and kind of lost the shape of the bagel itself. So I'm going to reshape the bagel, and it doesn't turn out that well, but it's still okay. The bagel is ready to be boiled, so I filled my pot with approximately 3/4 way with water and put it on medium heat. So I'm going to add honey to my boiling water. So the honey gives the bagel a softer and a little bit crunchier texture when you bake it in the oven. So I preheat my oven at 425 degrees. As you can see that I've sliced up my jalapenos, and I have cheese, sesame seeds, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of kosher salt into the sesame seeds for my topping. And I have an egg for the egg wash. So now you can see that the water is ready and it has boiled to where we need to put the bagels inside. So I'm going to start putting my bagels into the boiling water. So I'm going to start putting in my bagels into the boiling water. So I'm just going to put 2 bagels at a time because I don't want to overcrowd my pot. After your bagel has boiled, do an egg wash and start placing the toppings of your choice on top of the bagel. So I changed the temperature of the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit because I wanted the bagel to bake evenly. It will take about 10 to 15 minutes to bake and get the golden brown look that we want. The bagels are done and you can notice the golden brown look on the bagels. The sesame seeds are nice and toasted, the cheese has melted evenly, and the jalapenos are covered under the cheese and they look so good and ready to eat. Look how soft, warm, and fluffy the bagel looks.